Welcome all to the Control Your Epps-perience podcast for the last week of December, I guess it is. I'm the namesake, Alan Epps. Hope you all have been controlling your experience in this rugged ass world we're living in right now. Hope everybody's holiday has treated them well. I kind of know that's not the case, and I'll get into it in a sec. But we all know more than ever in 2020 that tomorrow's never promised. And even though we might not be able to celebrate the way we want, where we want, and to the level we want, be it because of social distancing, be it because of loss of employment or less employment, less funds, and just the struggles that have been put on us since COVID. I hope everybody was able to step back and take account of what they do have and more than focus on what they don't have. That said, I do have a friend of mine who I'm not going to say her name, but she lost her child on Christmas Day, and he's a special needs boy, and he was only 1 year old. And I haven't been trying to pry because I can only imagine the shape that she's in right now. But it looked like he had some kind of underlying health issues, and which led to him going septic and dying. So again, for every minor thing that might be going on in your life, in the grand scheme of things, if it's not affecting your health, just be grateful that that's what you have, and hold those people close to you tight as you can. That said, my Christmas was low key, but it was great. We ate good. Small local gathering. My sister had already been down here for a week with my niece, so that was awesome because they live 3 hours away, and because of COVID, she's a very friendly girl with other kids, but she's kind of wary of adults and doing that whole clingy thing to mom can't be more than 4 or 5 feet from her, which is typical of babies, but I'm sure it's just worse now with coronavirus, kind of limiting who the people she gets habituated to. And of course, she's 3 hours away. So she finally stopped treating us like stepchildren, is what I'm getting at. And she's a very smart girl. She knows her facial features, and she can say uncle. That's me. I'm going to get her to say Tio, though. And yeah, she even gave me a kiss, so that was dope. So yeah, she melted the thug's heart. But my brother-in-law and my sister, of course, came down. I guess I'm treating her like a stepchild, and we well. Of course, some of the cousins came by with their kids. It was a good time. Um, Not that it really matters, especially the fact that I'm 35. But I mean, the tree was noticeably, I don't want to say sparse, but less stocked than it has been in years past. But the kids didn't go without, and everybody had a good time. Uh, yeah, that's Christmas. Going into, well, yeah, before I get into that, I'd be remiss to point out how we didn't wake up with superpowers. And before you super wokes go, oh, you needed a solstice, we been had superpowers. Shut up. I know black people are great. We wanted fucking superpowers, my nigga. We wanted to fucking shoot freaking laser beams out our eyes and shit. Like, shut up, okay? But yeah, and kind of like I tell people this all the time. I don't play the lotto because I've always called it the ghetto retirement plan, and I only started playing it when I became broke. And then two, because of that, because I don't play it all the time, and only because I am in a position where I absolutely am like wishing on a star to win, I get disproportionately attached to the prospect of winning. And part of it is because of my noble plans to fix Black America with a major jackpot, all the while perpetrating like I'm a philandering fuckboy as a disguise, because I know they're eventually going to take me out once they figure out what I'm doing. But the further I can get away with it, kind of like Bruce Wayne was Batman, but he was boning chicks in the fountain at that restaurant. Yeah, I'm willing to do that for my people to philander and thought about with reckless abandon sacrifices we have to make. But anyway, I get too emotionally attached to when I play these fucking, and when I lose, I be genuinely upset. So I don't play this shit any more than I have to. It's not like gambling. I mean, it is basically gambling, but I know that when I go into a casino or to a poker table, or even if I'm betting on spades game, well, spades game's a little bit more competitive, but I go in there just pretty much like a strip club where I'm like, I've already thrown this money. If it comes back to me, then great, but I paid for a good time. Whereas the lotto, I don't know why. I just feel like it's my time, and it never fucking is. But now these fucking hoteps and maybe this is the nerd in me, the anime in me. I just knew that maybe, you know, I've mocked them for so many years, but they always say a broke clock is right twice a day, and these niggas ain't been right yet. Maybe they'll fucking become the X people out this bitch. And of course, these hotep bitches was talking out their fucking necks. So no, the first thing I did was check for force powers, which, fair disclosure, I do that at least once or twice a week, regardless. No spidey sense, no wall crawling, no Kamehameha waves coming out of my hands. It's pretty whack. It's ghetto. Do not recommend. But the funny thing that came out, other than fucking Black Twitter and the fucking memes, but the funniest thing to me, anyway, was like, you know, after, of course, the super wokes were going on there, we been lit. Oh, you needed a solstice? Yeah, shut up. After all that went by, you got the spiritual star sorcerers, you know, the horoscope, astrology types, were like, you guys, you make a joke out of everything. I'm so glad you guys are conscious now, and I take that. I'm grateful for that, but, you know, there is a reason why this was important, and do your research, and we welcome you guys to embracing your new spiritual awakening. I mean, shut the fuck up. Like, nobody gave a shit about this fucking convergence until the dumb hotep bitch on Twitter said that our DNA was going to unlock and we needed to wake up. Okay? Like, and I likened it to when, you know, when people are doing Christmas, and Christmas has been materialized, commercialized, and I'm not even going to get super woke how, you know, if you want to go historically, Christmas most likely has nothing to do with the actual birth of the man known as Jesus Christ. But that, I'm not getting into your pagan rituals and all that other shit. But my point is that even if we were to accept it as a religious, you know, celebration of the birth of Christ and everything, in America it's very, very, very commercialized about the gifts and shit like that. And you always get the sayings go, remember that he is the reason for the season. Yeah, that's my preacher voice, by the way. But, and that's what these fucking star sorcerers are fucking doing. Like, oh, remember, the real reason for the season is the lining of the... But shut up! But I realize that's how deep it is for some of them. And I don't knock anybody their beliefs, because they are your beliefs. They did, but the fact that they thought that they are like the church elders of the horoscope and astrology and zodiac is hilarious to me. Niggas be wildin' without superpowers. Could you imagine though, my niggas? Oh shit, would have changed around this bitch. I'm telling you. Ah! But back to our very real, very non-super, very ghetto, earthly dealings. There's a story out of Philadelphia where this couple hid out in a church. They're Jamaican immigrants that came here a number of years ago. Their names are Onita and Clyde Thompson. And they originally came to this country from Jamaica fleeing gang violence. Yeah. So Jamaica was wild and they came here illegally. And since then they've had several children. Hold on, let me see, where is that? 3 of which have become citizens here. So they came here with 2 other kids, I believe, that were not born American. So they got a letter from ICE basically saying, hey, y'all gotta hit the bricks. Yeah, 7 children, excuse me, 3 of which are citizens. So 4 kids that were not born here that are also illegal aliens well, they might have been naturalized, they didn't really go into that, but they weren't American citizens off rip. So 15 years ago they came here fleeing gang violence, and then they got a letter from ICE saying that, hey, Trump said y'all gotta get the fuck. So what did they do? They pulled a straight up hunchback in Notre Dame, and they went to a church in Philadelphia, and for 843 days they hid out in the sanctuary, which I'm assuming to be a basement, because I know churches call anything a sanctuary. But yeah, for 843 days. And for those of you who are not doing the public math on that, let's see here. That is about 2 1/3 years. Okay? Waiting for their naturalization to go through and all this other stuff, which they finally got. And then they came out with masks on. Like the picture I'm looking at, they're both with their fists high and are wearing masks. You know what that tells me? The Americans are the most spoiled, we already knew this, the most spoiled motherfuckers on earth. These motherfuckers sat in a dingy-ass Philadelphia dank-ass basement just for the privilege of staying in this ghetto ass country, and then even came out with masks to breathe their freedom air. And motherfuckers are still bitching and moaning about social distancing orders and measures and closing diners and all this other shit because it's inconveniencing them. And I'm not dismissing the very well economic impact on people. I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are still going out to fight, having private parties, but like half the block is in this crammed in this house or apartment, just super spreader ass, outbreak monkey ass motherfuckers. But these people did what they had to do. Just goes to show you that what we consider just a right is what we consider ghetto. We compared to the actual ghettos of other countries is nothing, and that people would go through hell just to stay here for the right to be as privileged as American-born people are. Insane to me. But shout out to them, congratulations, all that. Also in ghetto-ass American news, there was a death on an airline where two people, and this is the second time this shit has happened, where somebody died on the airplane from COVID complications. But this time, the people actually lied. He was symptomatic, and he knew it. And he lied, him and his wife lied about it to get onto this plane. And then he goes into respiratory distress, passes out, and the wife watches people tending to him, good Samaritans trying to give him CPR and all this other shit. And it's not until they land that she's like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. He tested positive. And of course, the first responder who gave him chest compressions, from what I understand, they didn't give him rescue breaths because they were worried about COVID from jump. But now he's got COVID. And he's experiencing symptoms. So, prayers to that man. But these people need to be locked the fuck up. And this is exactly why I'm kind of pissed off about the Cayman, if you haven't heard. I talked about it last week, how they locked up the little white girl, Miss Skylar Mack, who is a 18, 19-year-old from Georgia and pre-med student who went down to the Cayman to chase her fucking boyfriend at a jet ski competition and violated their quarantine orders and got locked the fuck up and sentenced to 4 months. They reduced her sentence to 2 months, so that kind of pisses me off, especially since she's pre-med, but whatever. But you got motherfuckers like this who are going to do what they want. And we're never going to get over this shit until people take it the fuck seriously. And can you imagine, and the sad part is people did this shit for polio and smallpox way back in the early 1900s, got tired of it, decided it was over, and boom, another outbreak and everything. And those were COVID has killed plenty of people, but I'm talking about the mortality rates for sheer number of infections is still very low versus smallpox and polio were a lot more lethal. And people still did it. So humans are not built to last, and Americans certainly aren't. We're going to be our own worst enemies. I'm back in Facebook jail again. And you guys can decide if I deserve it or not. In 30 days, I'll post the whole thread. But long and short of it is, I was on the bros. Shout out from Sleepy from Upside. If you're the bros from Florida, you know him. If not, you can't. Anyway. He had posted something about Chris, a year ago. Oh, no, it was a status message of the late Breonna Taylor posting how she had hoped to have a baby and, share Christmas time with her children and everything like that. And, of course, she's no longer with us. And this fucking coon came on her page, basically, on the comment thread, basically justifying, saying that she deserved it because she chose a life of crime and da-da-da-da-da-da. And what's more, this coon is a fucking Sigma. And again, those of you who may or may not be hip to what a Sigma is, there are 9 historically black fraternities and sororities, of which I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi, one of them, the most important one. But another one of them is Phi Beta Sigma. And what's unique about Phi Beta Sigma is that they are constitutionally bounded to one of the sororities, Zeta Phi Beta. So while we all have our relationships with each other, the males and the females organizations, the only one that is in their charter documents bound together is Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta. So with that, they actually pledge together, if they pledge or get made. They call each other LBs, LS, and everything. So you would think that the protection of womanhood and the bond of from brother and sister would be a little bit deeper with them. And you know what? For the most part, it is. I'm not trying to say that this man is by any means an indication of what Sigma is. But just trying to paint the picture of why he pissed me the fuck off. And in hindsight, after I got blocked, I realized that he is a known troll in another Greek group that I'm in, but I just never really paid him attention because he's a fucking cornball. So I didn't even recognize his name. It's slightly familiar, but I didn't realize who else I was. Not that I wouldn't went in on him anyway. But I proceeded to tear him a new one about how he's a fucking Sambo for that. And basically, he just kept going on about how she's documented being a drug dealer, which is false. And how she brought it on herself. And totally sidestepped about how every police officer of consequence following this has scrutinized the validity of the raid, the validity of the warrant, the execution of the raid, the recklessness of the officers involved, and everything like that. But he didn't want to hear none of that because she picked a crime, and those are the consequences of a life of crime, yada, 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 yada. So needless to say, I called him all kinds of Sambos, and he tried to say that I never went to college. All kinds of bullshit that had nothing to do with the matter at hand. And I was, supposed to be working when this happened, and I'm doing this on my phone while I'm on my work computer. And he said something about what's taking you so long. Only like 2 minutes had passed since our last comment. And I typed, "I'm at work, ho boy. Calm down, I'll be right with you." And I spelled ho, H-O-E. And as soon as I pressed enter on my phone, I got the little warning from Facebook saying that this comment resembles hate speech or other things that have gotten flagged. You want to edit it. And I edited it right immediately. And I still got thrown in fucking Facebook jail for 30 fucking days. So, not that I give a shit, but everybody's like, why you couldn't just leave shit alone? No, you're not going to change anybody's mind. And I wasn't expecting to change his mind. But what needed to happen, because before I jumped in, there was several back and forths with the Sleepy, who was calling him out. And then several women I had seen not only were in the comments, but have been liking the opposition comments. So our sisters were watching it. And up till I came in, everybody was being civil with this man. And I'm tired of the narrative that black men don't check each other, or when we do check each other, we don't make it uncomfortable for those who would abuse and violate and diminish our black women. So I was not trying to give this man the impression that this was any country for coons. So I was going to go in on him regardless, even if it ended up with him reporting my comments. But Vaughn Callender, just know that you are the very definition of a bitch. And if I ever see you, even though I don't know what the fuck you look like, it's on site. And he's also a vendor. And I have reason to believe he's right here in the DMV. His profile says he's from Brooklyn, New York. But just from me stalking his page, I see that he's been at several chapter meetings in the local area at a rival high school to one that to my old high school. And I distinctly remember going to our various Omega events here, and there'd be various vendors, and one of them was a Sigma. So I wondered if that was him. But if I ever see him again, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to kick over his fucking vendor stand like when the Bruh's Grill runs out of chicken. So y'all heard it here first. Get the GoFundMe ready for the bail, because I'm going ham on him. Because that shit. Oh, and if you think that that's too much for just that little incident, when I brought it up with some other Sigmas, and I wasn't expecting anything from them, because the Sigmas I took it to are older. I wasn't expecting them to beat him up or anything, and I don't get into other fraternity sorority business. I just wanted to be known to other people who I consider good men and members of the D9. Hey, your brother's wildin' over here. And never would I have expected the response from the men that I approached, number one, that I got, for two reasons. One, they're older, and two, even if they felt that way, I wouldn't expect them to tell me a non-Sigma. But they flat out said, fuck that dude. And ever since then, this was days ago, like 2-3 days ago, more and more people came forward. Oh yeah, man, there's a gang of Sigmas looking for him. So I'm gonna let Karma. I'm sure Karma will get to him before I do. But if I do, it's on, because he even went into one of the girls' inboxes and told her to kill herself. And then come to find out, from a couple years ago, there was a story in Michigan where this Muslim girl, I believe she was North African, I'm not entirely sure, but she was walking down the street, and some dude, I guess, wanted to talk to her, get her number, and she politely refused him. But I guess that wasn't enough for him, and this dude ends up kidnapping her, raping, and murdering her. And this motherfucker is in black and white on Facebook, having said, but had she been nicer, maybe she'd still be alive. So he's clearly an incel, clearly has problems with women, especially his own black women sisters, and he needs to get dealt with. That because today is comments on Facebook, tomorrow it's who knows what, and he damn sure don't deserve any of our dollars. So that's why it's that serious. So again, Vaughn Calendar, fuck you the long way. Moving on. So you guys recall that when the whole election was called initially for Biden, and the conservatives and Trump supporters were all upset because eventually Fox News recognized it and they said, "Oh, we can't trust Fox. Fox is part of the fake media." So then they started going to OWN and Newsmax and setting up Parler accounts and all this other shit. Well, now Newsmax has acknowledged Biden's win. So in my hiatus from Facebook, I got half a mind to start a Parler account just to do some trolling and get some screenshots for my return. So yeah, more to follow on that. But they're still acting up. If any of you notice, out in Oregon, and again, I lived in Oregon for the better part of a year and a half, and I guess there was a state legislature meeting. I'm not sure of what policies were being discussed. I think there might have been some gun control measures or something along those lines. But they decided to have a closed door session because of COVID and social distancing. And I'm not sure if it was because previously there had been some armed Oregon demonstrations. Of course, the whole thing in Portland with the autonomous zone has been going on. So I'm not sure if that had anything in on it. But the reason I did see cited was because of COVID-19 protection. And of course, armed protesters were trying to storm the session and weren't trying, they did. They were breaking glass and everything like that, and the cops weren't doing shit to them. And from what I understand, in between the incoherentness, they said that we have a right to assemble. It's written into Oregon's constitution that you can't bar us from this. So they viewed it, that was their legitimate right. However, they damaged property. They attacked various members of the media, or I don't even know what outlets, but I saw a video, cell phone video of them attacking a photographer who did, and these dudes had their sidearms on. There's one dude in this American Eagle shirt, which is wilding on everybody in front of police, and they weren't doing shit to him. So just more white people whiting. This is exactly why I stay in the house, because when I come out, I'm not coming out to play with them. Like it's I'm tired of talking to these people. I'm tired of talking about them. This shit needs to get done. Yeah, but I guess Trump, is making some moves as well. So as of right now, it is 11:32 on December 27th. And for those of you, some of you may be more aware than others, but as of midnight Christmas Eve, the previous COVID relief bill had expired. And what that did was, in addition, obviously we got our stimulus if you were going to get them a while back, but what it did was the protections for people from getting evicted and all this other stuff lapsed. And the crazy thing is, my dad went out on Christmas Day, and he said he already saw people stuff getting tossed out of their apartments. Now, I'm sure just because if anybody who's gone through an eviction process or has tried to evict people know it's a very lengthy process in most places. I'm sure those people were already on the cusp prior to COVID, and COVID just made it worse. Not saying that makes it any better, but legally they were able to get through, which is crazy as well, because the courts have been closed and not seeing non-urgent cases and everything like that. So that tells me that their paperwork was just pending and they were saved by the non-eviction notice, regardless of if the case was prior to COVID or not, but that lapsed. So when that expired, Congress had put forth a bill saying that, okay, we'll extend this, and they had bootstrapped all kinds of other bullshit policies, like making it a felony to illegally stream shit, yada, 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 yada. But, yeah, so they had bootstrapped it on there with a $600 payment, which was meant by much chagrin, and rightfully so, because what the fuck is $600, especially after these many months when people who get paid a minimum $130,000 a year decide that we're supposed to live off $600, which is half of the original stimulus. So yeah, it was met with what the fuck is that, and then other people would go, just be grateful for what we get, and of course pointing out how the same party who says that they don't want government doing anything for us is upset. Members, the people who voted for this party are upset that that's all they're getting. So people continuing to vote against their own interests. It's just insane. it is just insane. Like, I hate my job and I want to quit. Part of the reason I'm still working there is because it's I haven't missed a check since this thing started, and I got benefits, and it'd be stupid to move somewhere else without it in a pandemic just because I don't like it there. So we're all making sacrifices, but some of us have a lot less options and a lot less of a safety net than I do. So I'm always thinking about you guys. And this is some complete and utter bullshit. So Trump, what does he do? He comes out and says, "Nah, give the people 2,000," which is not going to fix it, but it's a hell of a lot better than 600. And don't think for a second Trump gave a fuck about us. What he's actually doing is sticking it to the Republicans who didn't back him, and trying to stay relevant. After he has to leave office, entertaining a possible run. Not that he'd win it in 4 more years if he was even alive, but he clearly does not intend to go away and continue to be a thorn in the Republican Party side, and he's got a significant amount of their base that are loyal to him, not the Republicans. And I'm not mad at him for that. But where it became a thing, he said he was going to veto it, and I'm kind of annoyed about this, because he didn't veto it, he just said he wasn't going to sign it. And then he ended up signing it today. I want to say about an hour ago, he announced that he signed it. Long and short of it is, it's going to, hold on, I got an article here. I do know that it was supposed to provide for 11 more weeks of unemployment, and it's $600 direct payment and stuff like that, which might shorten down to 10 weeks because of the processing and everything. But it is going to extend the non-evictions and stuff like that. And CNN, of course, the liberal media, is characterizing it as a lengthy delay, meaning they don't take Trump's actions as being altruistic in and of itself. But I don't like the fact that it's being characterized as a delay. But at the same time, he opened him up to it because he didn't stick to his guns. Now, I'm glad that at least by not sticking to his guns, some people are going to get some immediate relief as far as evictions and everything like that. But I would have also, and this is very easy for me to say, again, I have not missed a check. I'm not worried about my rent and everything like that. But I'd rather he would have stuck to his guns and held them to the fire. But at the same time, if that was really his priority, he would have said this months ago, while they were floating, because he knew what the amount was. He said at the 11th hour he's not going to sign it. If he was really honestly, truly concerned about the people and trying to get them a higher payment, he'd have said, "I'm telling you right now, you put anything across my desk that does not have this amount of money for the American people, get it out of my face." That's how you do that. You don't do it at the 11th hour. So, yeah. We'll see what happens afterwards. But the crazy part is people were blaming Biden for the little $600 payment. He ain't even showed up to work yet. His first day is January 20th. But niggas is mad at him. So that just goes to show you that Trump is a master of spreading bullshit near and far, hither and yon. I compared him to the African hippopotamus on Facebook before I was banned. Because the hippopotamus, an adult hippo, can shit 400 pounds of shit every day. And if you've ever seen a hippo poop, it's got a tail that acts like a paddle and spreads it. And it can fling shit up to 10 meters, which is around a little over 30 feet. So I said that no other mammal is documented spreading fuck shit hither and yon more prolifically than the hippo, except for Donald J. Trump. So people found that fun. It hit better when you had to read it on Facebook, but that's what it is. It just goes to show that people do not think critically. And these aren't just Republicans mad at Trump. These are, Democratic voters mad. They were mad at Biden, blaming Biden. Like, damn, he wasn't even there. What the fuck? Yeah. So that's the state of our nation for now. I look forward to see what any additional stimuli are going to be released because people are hurting, and the 600 ain't going to cut it. And I don't know what to tell people because we weren't not going to vote Democrat evidently. So what are you going to do to make it known that the American people are more pressing need than making sure that other countries get relief for things? Or it's just like, when you are charitable in your own house and you make donations to stuff every year, but if somebody loses their job and everything, you tell them when they call, are you going to make your donation this year? I would like to, but I've had a hardship. I will call you back when I'm in a position to donate. But we don't do that. We're giving tons of money to Israel. We're giving tons of money to various other countries. We're giving tons of money to programs that are essential in the grand scheme of whatever program or objective we wanted to, but not essential as far as like, is it's keeping the lights on right now. And then the American people get $600 fucking dollars. That's, yeah. A Pennsylvania man is facing felony charges because he was caught registering his dead parents and some other people to vote for Trump in Pennsylvania, which had the potential to be a swing state. I mean, I guess it was because it went to the Democrats, but you know that's what they flipped last year, or not last year, last election against Hillary Clinton to turn the tide. So obviously they felt that Pennsylvania absolutely had to go for Trump for him to have a chance. And this dude went and committed voter fraud. But you know, after Trump's widespread claims of illegal voters and fake ballots, I don't see him talking about this shit. But whatever, I guess it's over. Staying with the political aspect of it, though. So Raphael Warnock. So those, especially the Georgia voters who may be listening to this, make sure you vote. I know early voting is open. I don't know when the deadline is, but this is not an election you want to miss. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'll lay out the circumstances as best as I understand them. It's a runoff. There are 2 Senate seats up for grabs. There are 2 Republican candidates. There are 2 Democratic candidates. If you voted for Biden and you want him to be able to get any fucking thing done, there's really only one vote here, and that's for the Democrats. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. However, if you are concerned about the issues, and again, I don't have a dog in this hunt, a dog in this fight because I can't vote in Georgia, but the Democratic candidates pose some very real issues to me, particularly Mr. Raphael Warnock. First and foremost is his views on the Second Amendment. He is absolutely one of the people who just wants to get rid of AR-15s, and sweeping legislation to make it non-cost effective for people to make guns, for people to buy guns, impossible bureaucracy and red tape to get them, that are first and foremost going to affect black people and people who are economically challenged. And it's what his representation in Congress is going to open the door for widespread incremental changes that will eventually lead to a total ban. Do I think he's going to get in and vote in, oh, guns are bad? No, but that's not how anything's going to happen in this country. They're going to slowly whittle away at the Second Amendment until it's not there anymore. And he's absolutely a vote for that agenda. And he said it. That's not me. That's come out of his mouth. So first and foremost, that's my issue with him. And if you're a new gun owner, especially in the South, you may not be, I won't say about that life, because when people hear that, they think about shooting people. What I'm talking about, you know, you might have been anti-gun all your life. This was the first time but you felt the need to buy it now because you did not feel fucking safe. And now that Biden's in there, are you really feeling any safer? Do you think that these races have just suddenly disappeared and everything like that? Are you willing to give up your weapon? And if you are, then why'd you buy it in the first fucking place? That's my question to you. But yeah, that's my main issue with him. And then today it was announced that he endorsed a group that is pro-Israel. The Democratic Majority for Israel is the organization, and who the issue with that is, you know, in the past, Raphael Warnock has visited. You know, he's a preacher, by the way, he's a reverend, and he's gone on trips to Israel, and he's seen for his firsthand knowledge the very real apartheid-like conditions in which Israel treats Palestinians, and not only Palestinians, the Jews that lived in the Holy Land prior to Israel being created by Great Britain following World War II. Ethiopian Jews, black Jews, you know. And he even said it, like, this is no better than apartheid in South Africa. And he has called Netanyahu a segregationist and compared him to, and again, Raphael Warnock grew up in Jim Crow. So he's seen Jim Crow firsthand, he's seen Israel firsthand, and he made a comparison of Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, to George Wallace, the notorious segregationist in the South. And of course, at the time, you know, people were upset about it and everything like that. But, you know, right-wing, left-wing politics is not a American phenomenon. And there's a reason why so many Americans donate, in addition to the money that Israel gets from our government, televangelists, people who vote Republican, send millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to Israel every year in various fundraisers and stuff like that. It's called Zionism. They just think that once the Holy Land is occupied by mostly Christians, that the Book of Revelations will start, the Jews will convert, recognize Jesus, and yeah, whatever. So that's why they do it. And of course, they encourage Israel to encroach upon further and further upon Palestinian land. They aid to the violence out there. And of course, Palestine is viewed as a nation full of terrorists beyond that. Where have we seen this before? So he's called Netanyahu the far-right leader of Israel and somebody who has sanctioned basically war crimes against people for what he is. And this group has endorsed Raphael Warnock, which tells me that Raphael Warnock was told to toe the line. The Democrat, if you're going to be a party man, you need to toe the line, and you need Israel support and all this other stuff. So that's why, because he's previously been critical of it, and good on him. Being critical of Israel does not mean that you are anti-Semitic, that you hate Israel, but because certain people control media outlets, they will say that any criticism of Israel law makes you anti-Semitic. So he was told this is clearly a political thing where he's said whatever he needed to say to get the Democratic majority for Israel's endorsement. And it is what it is. And mind you, this is the same organization that explains away when a war crime happens in Palestine, like 40 Palestinian children being killed in a Israeli raid for whatever reason with bombs and stuff. That this group is on record saying that, those 40 kids put themselves in a position to get killed. So that's the organization that we're not just tap dance to get their endorsement. So that just tells me that in addition to the Second Amendment, he's a blackface in a centrist democratic government that is not necessarily for us. But again, those are your issues, and really it's going to come down to Georgia. Do you want Biden to even be able to be in a position to welch on the bullshit he promised y'all or not? I never even touched on that whole meeting with Biden and the Zoom and the black civil rights leader, whoever the hell they are. But the tone, if you listen to that, he pretty much told them, hey, I'm doing what I want. What else do you want from me? Kiss my ass. So, yeah. It is what it is. He's also appointed a judge, the Attorney General of California, who basically took the seat after Kamala Harris went to the Senate. Xavier Becerra was just appointed to lead the Department of Health and Human Services in the government, which you may wonder, why is an attorney getting appointed to that department? And it's very clear because Xavier Becerra, while he has had his tenure in California, has basically tried to pass any and every restriction against existing firearms that were previously, if you don't know anything about gun laws in this country, New York and California and DC and I guess Illinois is the honorable mention, probably have the strictest, most retarded gun laws in the country. So with that, once he took over, he's tried to get everything banned: pistol braces, magazines, all this other shit that has been shot down in the Ninth Circuit courts, but is going to the Supreme Courts. But that's clearly his agenda. So by moving him to Health and Human Services, because he's on record as saying that he believes gun violence is a health pandemic or health issue in America and not a criminal one. So by making him the leader of this department that you think a physician or some other public health expert would be leading, it's now giving him untold millions of resources to shoehorn in legislation that he couldn't get straight up to the merits of the law in, but try to make policy from a health standpoint to basically backdoor ban things and, again, further erode the Second Amendment. So, I mean, it's very clear what is a major agenda of Joe Biden's presidency. That's not fear-mongering. That's not being a gun nut. I mean, he's literally moving every piece at his disposal on the chessboard to to get this goal, because he even said I can't just flat out ban them on my own. Joe Biden said that, and he's not going to do it by executive order. He said that, so this is what he's trying to do. But it is what it is. Y'all voted for him, so I leave that to y'all. I'm not complying any goddamn way, so it's like I'm worried, but I'm not. What do you want? Okay, you talked about that. Stimulus came in, voted for Warnock. Oh, okay, so let's get into more personal things, like interpersonal things, not government and everything. So I want to say last year or earlier this year, there was a viral clip of this guy, a black man. He's married, talking about what a real man is, and like y'all. Back when the favorite hypothetical was who's splitting the bills and this, that, and the third. He went viral because he basically said, "I'm a real man. I pay all the bills. My wife don't never have to pay for nothing. And you ask for that, they don't make them no more." Basically getting all the asses. And it was an older dude, like somebody's father, possibly grandfather. Well, now him and his family was on Iyanla Fix My Life, and for the record, Iyanla ain't fixed no goddamn body's life. Okay, and for those of you who don't know, Iyanla is not like a mental health professional or a therapist or anything. She's a lawyer by trade. Not to say that Iyanla isn't a repository of wisdom and stuff like that, that she can't give good advice, but she's by no means an authority on this shit. And like I said, she ain't fixed not nan life that I've ever seen, but she sounds wise and old and black womany when she does it. She's got a show, so good on her. Whatever. But if you put your actual life in her hands, good luck, niggas. But now he's on there and his family's in shambles, and the wife and kids are all like, "We wanted your time, not your money, and you're so mean." And he is a dickhead. Like the way he's talking to people, you can tell that like, I paid the money, shut the fuck up. But I mean, that's what he paid the cost to be the boss, right? We wanted your time, and then everybody's saying that, oh, he should have balanced it, because you can't buy love and all that, so he should have balanced his time between working and paying all the bills and being a father to his kids and being a better husband. How, nigga? Like, you telling him to balance his time and shit, the time that he needs to make that money so she don't have to do it. But she ain't talking about balancing them bills. And again, I'm a firm believer in doing what works for people. Okay, but this clearly didn't work. But she was kind enough to let it work as long as she didn't have to work. Bars. I hate doing that shit for myself, but that's why I need a fucking co-host to give me my air horns, because it sounds like I'm dick riding myself. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if it works for you, then fine. Like, if the man can do this easily without, working 16, 17-hour days and be a family, then that's awesome. That's fine. But like you said, if you want to be taken care of and this man can't do it, what's more important to you? Not paying the bills or having a functioning family dynamic? But chicks don't want to hear that shit. They want their lives subsidized, and then have the right to take half a nigga shit when he leaves, or when they leave on a whim, or whatever. But I just thought that was funny. Do what works for you, and not by your checkbook, but what makes your marriage, your relationships work. That's all. That's all I got to say. What was the last thing? Oh, I skipped right over to football. So, like I said last week, I have not really been watching football because, again, the Cowboys season was in shambles, and then my fantasy football teams fell apart. But it looks like in one of my leagues, the league that I thought I was going to do the worst in, because I wasn't too in love with my draft, and then I only went 7-5 in the regular season. But I just won the ship. All thanks to Alvin Kamara's, well, not really, my other guys showed up too, but I knew I was going to win it Thursday night, because Alvin Kamara put up a record fantasy performance. He had like 6 touchdowns or some shit like that. And he gave me, I'm looking at it, 55 points by his damn self. And I was already a favorite to win with the projections and everything. I want to say like a 70% favorite before that happened, and then that by itself. And just to put it, like right now, I'm at 171 points, and my opponent has 65 points. So I knew I was going to win. And I left hella points on the bench. Like, I didn't start Rob Gronkowski, who got 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, and somehow put up 19 points. David Carr hoed me the week before, so I didn't start him, but he actually outscored Jalen Hurts, who I did start, by 6 points. Yeah. So I had points to spare on the bench, but I think the other guy's highest scoring guy was Calvin Ridley, 18, and then he had Austin Hooper for 14. Everybody else is in single digits, so he had no hope of beating me. But yeah, so I won the chip and the league that I had pretty much written off. But the other ones where I was the regular season leader by 2 or 3 games, I got bounced out. And then another one where I didn't even make the playoffs because I literally drafted everybody who got hurt. I had this squad. I just knew that I could win this straight up without even ever changing my roster. And every last one of them got hurt. Dak, Julio, Odell Beckham Jr., what's that man's name? Joe Mixon. The list just kept going and going and going and going. People who I had to steal at the draft and didn't even make the fucking playoffs. It was ridiculous. So, yay me. It looks like the Cowboys have given up trying to get the best draft pick because they smacked the Eagles around. And the Washington football team lost as well. So we're still somehow alive to get the freaking divisional championship. We basically need to win next week, and we need Philadelphia to win next week. And they're going to play hard because if Philly wins next week and Dallas loses, Philly's in. If Dallas wins and Philly wins, we're in. And if the Redskins win, they're in. Oh, excuse me, not the Redskins, the Washington football team. But I thought we were just going to tank this shit out. God damn it. Because, yeah, we actually look good against Philly, but they suck. And I'm not interested in divisional titles just to go and get first-round exits. We're not winning this thing with Andy Dalton. And not to put it on Andy. Andy's actually been playing pretty decent. But that team is too banged the fuck up. We cannot hold water. Okay, our defense is just not there. We're too hurt. I would have much rather it's got a better draft pick, because now we have to commit to Dak. Better draft kits, start building that line back up, get some defensive help, and made some fucking moves. But now I think we're lucky if we're going to get. I don't think we were in the top 10 draft picks at the start of this game, but I'm pretty sure we're going to drop down to like 15 or 16 now at the end of the as a result. And that's with still another game left in the season, so we could go even further. So that was just fucking dumb. But my fantasy team won. And the other thing that pissed me off was that Randy Moss went on T.O.'s podcast and said that he was the greatest receiver of all time and that he ranked his top 3 were him, T.O., and then maybe Jerry Rice 3rd or 4th. And I have no problem with Randy Moss believing in himself and thinking he was and honestly, he had the tools to be a phenom. A phenom. He was to the wide receiver position what LeBron is to the basket. He had the speed, he had the hands, he had the route running, he had the leaping ability. So by that even though Randy Moss had a prolific career, by the argument can and should be made that he underachieved. That he flat out, he underachieved. Now granted, he had decent quarterbacks, but not like Hall of Fame guys. Steve McNair. I mean, you can make Steve might actually get into the. Not Steve McNair, excuse me. Dante Culpepper might get in. No, he's not going to get into the Hall. But he was a better than average quarterback. You know? And everybody says, oh, well, Jerry Rice had Steve Young and Joe Montana. But Steve Young and Joe Montana will tell you, no, they had Jerry Rice. Now, yes, those are 2 of the all-time great quarterbacks. But how much of that was because Jerry Rice was who he was? And not only was that, he caught everything that came to him. And he was not a burner. He wasn't slow by any means, but he was not a guy who was just going to run by everybody in the league. He was not an exceptionally big guy. He wasn't going to outleap anybody, but he came down with the ball and he was constantly fucking open. Constantly. And at an older age, and he was an Iron Man. He was rarely ever hurt because he took care of his body and he was a student of the game. Whereas the other 2 had diva personalities. And that should just goes to show, like, when you put their numbers up against each other, even though the other 2 are way more physically gifted than Jerry Rice's career shits on them in every measurable category. So, yes, you were the greatest athlete to play wide receiver ever, but you were not the greatest receiver ever because it's not a track meet. You got to put the numbers down. And there is no argument against that. Jerry Rice, and not even just the greatest receiver, he's arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest football players to ever play the fucking game. So, yeah. But of course, now you got again, this is made for conversations and everything, but here's the shit I hate. I'm watching this shit from Facebook jail. I'm in this group where people who have clearly never played any sort of organized football ever. And I'm by no means, I never went to nobody's league. I didn't play college ball or anything. But I have played with actual athletes who shouldn't have been playing with me, risking their eligibility. I have played in competitive ass leagues, a semi-pro league, a flag league where there's people were getting jaws broke. Like, it's flag football, but niggas was not acting like it. Uh, all that to say, and the quarterback for my team actually was an NFL New Orleans Saint at one point, a quarterback, like a back. He never saw the field in a game, but I think he got some preseason action. But all that to say is that I have run a route tree. I have caught passes while in a tackle football game with pads and everything. I have caught passes from a guy who has a next level arm. And these idiots are trying to imply that receiving gloves, that Jerry Rice wasn't as great as he was because he used stickum and that he used gloves. Jerry Rice came into the NFL in 1985. The use of stickum, which is a tar-like adhesive substance that once you put it on, you need to paint it to get off, was outlawed in 1981. So Jerry Rice couldn't have used stickum at the pro level. And I don't know if he did it in college, but I doubt it. But let's say he did. He never used it in the pros. Okay? Number two, stickum is glue. Okay, like there's film of people catching the ball with the back of their hand because they're covered in stickum. There's film of a running back on the Raiders who was supposed to do a fake reverse halfback pass and couldn't throw the ball. He pumped it like two, and the ball when that come out, and he had to run it in. Okay, but it's crazy because Fred Biletnikoff, you may know that name if you know anything about football, because he is the namesake of the award that is given to the best receiver in college football. Famously used stickum all the time. And he's even quoted, says they gave him an extra overwhelming grip against DBs when they try to wrestle the ball away from him. Now, his teammates say that Fred was legit. He caught everything. He didn't need stickum. It was more for peace of mind. But when stickum got outlawed, it got named after one of his teammates. I believe his name was Lester Hayes. Let me look it up. Lester Hayes was a cornerback on the same Raiders team that won the Super Bowl, and he took stickum to the next level because he would So Fred used to cover it, his hands and everything like that, but he also would wad it up on his left inner knee, kind of like what pitchers when they would put that shit on their hands so they can help get a grip on the ball to make breaking balls, and he would hide it somewhere like Vaseline or something. He would wad that shit up on his sock, on his left leg, whereas Lester Hayes would literally be covered in this shit. And you could see the fur off the towels and shit that he used, and people had to pry them off. They wouldn't dap them up and everything like that. Now Lester Hayes is black as well, and he's not in the Hall of Fame, whereas Fred Biletnikoff is. And it's called the Hayes Rule when they eliminated stickum. So yeah, there you go. Good old racism still. The black man is scapegoated with this shit. And anybody who watches the game thinks Lester Hayes should be in the fucking league. But these idiots are arguing that receiver gloves are like stickum, where if you've ever worn receiver gloves, even the best gloves, the glove is not going to catch the ball for you. Now, does it help you? Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't have worn them. Okay, does it help? But it's only under certain conditions. When that glove gets wet, it can be just as bad. That's the whole point, is that you have a uniform surface that is high friction, so the ball is spinning. It'll help arrest that spinning. But you still have to grab and catch the ball. If you have hands of stone, you're not going to catch the ball. If the ball gets in on your palms before your fingertips, you're going to drop the ball or you're going to bobble them. Whereas if your hand touches it with that stickum shit in, you've caught the fucking ball. So, and then they're trying to say that the new gloves they got tack. They don't understand what tack is, because the surface is a high friction surface, and that the more it gets used, exposed to air, dries out, gets touched with dirt and everything, it loses its tack over time. Like when I discovered this on accident. I was playing a semi-pro game out in Minot, North Dakota, and if you've ever been in North Dakota, you know that there's swarms of biting mosquitoes. Like you can see one mosquito, they're so big, from 20 feet away. That might not seem like a lot to y'all, but one bug, not a swarm of bugs, you can see him flying from 20 feet away, and there's hundreds of them. So before we played the game, we would spray ourselves down with bug spray, and I got some on my hand on my glove because I was rubbing it in. And then I didn't realize it until I went to go warm up, and I caught a ball, and I one-handed it with my left hand. I've one-handed caught stuff before, but it's very hard for me. My hands aren't all that big, and if I do it, it's with my right hand because I'm right-handed. I one-handed one with ease with my left hand, and I realized how sticky that bug spray, the off deep wood spray, with deep on my receiver glove. I had cutters, which is the finest of gloves. I do believe that Nike makes one that are like $100 a pair, but I'm not a professional, so I'm not paying $100 a pair. And that's the other thing. You know, the pros replace these gloves every game because they wear the fuck out. You can't just spray shit on them to make them sticky again, unless you do the bug spray thing. But it made them really sticky. But again, you have to reapply that shit. Normal gloves, when you grab a ball, there's no residue left on it. You can't just put a flat palm with a glove, put it on a glove on a ball, and raise your palm up, and the ball be stuck to you like you could with stickum. And I found myself explaining that to these motherfuckers who can't be gym teachers who are probably yelling at their kid's coach for not playing them when their kid is slow. So, yeah. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and most of them stink. So, it is what it is. I think I'm going to end this with my commentary on the Wonder Woman 1984 movie. Now, I was excited to watch this because I like the Wonder Woman character, the storyline. I feel like she's very necessary, especially in the wake of Captain Marvel being trash. And I am a fan of Gal Gadot, both physically, aesthetically, and I like her. Now, people don't like say she can't act, but I feel like the roles that we've seen her in, she's the strong silent type, and she does that very well. Is she the female Jason Momoa? Who knows? But in the roles that we've seen her, she's never disappointed me. I never get tired of hearing her talk. And it's not just because of the accent or whatever, you know, like she's confident to me. So the movie was trash, man, and it pains me to say that. I'm not one of those people who's just hard to please, because I cannot stand a lot of the comic and nerd community who is just like, they're never fucking happy. Never. I think the last podcast I went back and forth about people who were bitching about the season finale of The Mandalorian. But I try to find something, and the only redeeming thing I can say about this is that if there was like a Wonder Woman series on HBO, you know, with the high budget, kind of like Game of Thrones, this would have been a good 2 or 3 episode story arc, this movie. But in my opinion, when you make the movie about the titular character, there's supposed to be carnage going on, lots of action, major epics that were the equivalent of major releases in the comic. So kind of like Superman versus Batman, which I think they shot that while too early, but the Doomsday arc was major to the Superman story. They chose a story that was not all that important. This could have been like an episode, you know what I mean? Like, who gave a shit? And then they got the dude Pedro Pascal, who is Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones, and more recently Din Djarin from The Mandalorian. And spoiler alert, you know, so I guess I'm a little late for that. But so he's the villain, and I'm not really trying to go too much into plot, but there are just plot holes aplenty, which, you know, I call it the Twilight effect, because a lot of these chick flicky type movies where there is some action, they like to undo what happened, almost like in a hypothetical, and I think that's chronically feminine, just because that's how y'all argue in real life. Consequences be damned. Forget what you said. Who cares about that? Why you bringing up that old shit? You know, whatever. But beyond that, it's just like the story material for this movie was nowhere near as compelling as it needed to be, and the parts that could have been compelling were just underwhelming. The way that they were directed, not on Gal Gadot, but just the way the writing and then there were hella plot holes. Like, she had that fucking armor that they hyped up the whole movie, and all she did was block the villain. Like, and the armor got wrecked. It really served no fucking purpose. The villain got hurt by something that should have hurt her too, or neither one of them should have been hurt by. It was just so much, and the fight scene itself was just like, my boy called it hair pulling. It's like Wonder Woman in the movies beats the asses of regular people and henchmen way worse than she does the other people. Wonder Woman's best movie was the Batman versus Superman one, because when we saw her, she was catching the smoke and giving it to Doomsday, and that's the Diana we want to see. Okay, I understand now from a objective standpoint. I understand that Wonder Woman is a feminist icon. I understand that she is important to girls and women for reasons that are not either important to me or just not known to me or don't resonate with me. So I'm not saying that she has to be a certain way to make it palatable for people like me, to be mansplained or to be deemed worthwhile. Because I recognize that's just as toxic as the fucking nerds at Comic-Con who don't like it when pretty girls show up. Oh, your cosplay isn't accurate. Oh, you don't even like this shit. No, fuck it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that needs to stop being relied on. Okay? Because that's not what these movies are for. Like, the movie, you can do that and still make a great, compelling movie. Stop relying on these moral victories. My boy said, oh, who's she fighting with? Who's the villain? The glass ceiling? Fucking tapping asshole. But yeah, man, it's just like give her somebody. And I didn't read the old Wonder Woman comics, so I don't even know if there's anybody in there. I do know that Cheetah, who's in this movie briefly, is supposed to be her arch nemesis. But if that's the case, from me just looking up Cheetah's wiki, she's underpowered. When Diana has fought and held her own against Superman, Diana has fought against fucking Doomsday and everything like that. And this bitch is her arch nemesis? No. So that means that you guys need to create some new shit to make Diana have a worthwhile fight, because in her first movie, her first standalone movie, fighting Ares. Alright, I understand that DC Comics has the magical aspect and the mythology, and yes, Greek gods appear, but nobody wanted to see that shit. This wasn't Xena. This wasn't Hercules. This is the DC universe. We're doing the gods now? Get the fuck out of here. So, I want to see her fight somebody worthwhile. Who that is, I don't know. If they need to pull somebody, repurpose somebody else's storyline from the DC universe, that's fine. If they need to create somebody totally new, that's fine. Because the DC universe is in such a state right now that even the purists can't get any more madder than they already are. But Wonder Woman is by far the most successful character, I think, both well casted and just has a base following that the DCU can run by. But what you're doing is you're losing the rest of us. And they've already greenlit a third movie, and I really hope I'm not sitting through another feminist anthem. Like I'm not saying that the feminist shouldn't be something the feminists can enjoy and everything like that. But Wonder Woman is more than that. She's more than that, man. Like, give her somebody to beat the fuck up. Give her somebody to, and you know, Diana is a killer too. Diana needs to kill regular people. So if you're gonna do that, like, I don't know, man. I just hope. I'm genuinely disappointed. I'm hurt because I wanted this movie to be awesome, and not just because the DCU has been trash, but I'm a fan of the character Wonder Woman. I am a fan of what she represents to girls, because just like Black Panther, you know, it's the same thing as me saying that, oh, white people didn't like Black Panther because there wasn't enough action. It was totally focusing on Africa and this, that, and the third. I'm like, fuck you, it's not for you, bitch. But Black Panther was a masterpiece, and that there was plenty of action, and it highlighted our culture. Why can't they do that with Wonder Woman? We gave them a pass on the backstory movie, just like Captain America's first movie, the first Avenger. You know, he's beating up Nazis and shit like that. But even he got to fight Red Skull. So, what the fuck, man? I don't know. I just hope this next movie isn't trash, because this shit, there were so many plot holes, dude. So many plot holes. Like, she was flying forever and never left DC. Like, and she learned how to fly, but not really flying, because she was gliding. And then people were undoing the wish when we know damn well in this country we can't even get motherfuckers to wear masks. But you're going, it's just a lot. There were so many plot holes. And I mean, I'm not telling y'all not to watch it. They already greenlit the next movie, so it's not like you're not watching it is going to stop them from doing it. But I just want better for us as comic fans, as people who enjoy the DC universe, who's, even though they don't deserve us, I'm excited for the Snyder Cut, so I hope that's going to bring her back in a good light, because, yeah, what else are we going to do? But, yeah, what I was trying to do, I wanted to discuss this gas station situation in Atlanta. Long story short, a gas station owner, I think he was Pakistani, but I'm not entirely sure. He made some racist shit saying that he don't care about black people in the black community, whatever, get the fuck out of the store. And some ET aliens, I don't even know if they still call themselves that, basically arranged a boycott, and now he's agreed to sell it. I'm trying to arrange an interview with the very man who spearheaded that. Royce, if you guys remember my boy Royce, who was a guest star on one of my other episodes, he put me in contact with him. He wanted to check out the podcast and make sure I'm not on no bullshit. So I'm waiting for him to get me back. And once he does, I will give you guys a first-hand account of the goings-on and show you that the power of the bike dollar means something, both locally and globally. But until then, again, you know, the New Year's coming. We have no reason to believe that 2021 is going to have any semblance of act right. I saw a meme that said 2021, you thought 2020 was bad, wait till that motherfucker start drinking. Because, 20, 21, drinking age. That went over some of y'all heads. Most won't get this. But anyway, all you can do is control your experience, control your Epps-perience, and your day-to-day. Keep your loved ones close, man. Cherish every moment that you have. Take care of yourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially as best you can. And if you have a support system, lean on them because you are somebody's support system as well. Till next week.